Welcome, bienvenidos, benvindu, to the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores show, part of the SDH network. The only English language show devoted to South America's premier club competition. I'm your host, Howard Hamilton, the founder of Soccermetrics. In the last episode, I informed you that I, in my words, was almost fully recovered from an illness. Well, it turned out that I wasn't fully recovered. In fact, my condition grew much worse after I filed my recording, and I ended up having to be admitted to the hospital for a serious complication. I'm back now, after several days in hospital, and I've learned the importance of many things, such as the importance of health, of friends, and of family, and the importance of getting serious health issues checked out without delay. I'm very glad to be here, and to still be here. Now turning to football, the most important of the less important things in life, according to Pope John Paul II, the first preliminary round of the 2026 Copa Libertadores concluded last Thursday. In every single one of the three matches, there were goals and there was drama. And in every tie, the final outcome was in dispute throughout the night, sometimes down to the very last kick. Some thrilling and unexpected results that have set this edition of the Libertadores off with a bang. So in this episode, I'll recap the three matches that made up the first qualifying round, and then set the stage for the second preliminary round. We start this review with the tie between Venezuela's Deportivo Táchira and Bolivia's The Strongest. The Strongest entering this second leg with a 2-1 advantage from La Paz. This match featured one-way traffic by Deportivo Táchira, but very nearly ruined by indiscretion near full time. After a 5th-minute effort by Arrasqueta for The Strongest, whose effort on goal was missed wide, Táchira put their stamp on the match. First, Peñaranda, with a header after a corner in the 11th minute, forced a save by The Strongest's Luis Banegas. In the 32nd minute, the equalizing goal on the tie arrived through Rodrigo Pollero. The ball was worked through on the left-hand side, and Pollero met with a powerful header to Carlos Sosas' cross. 1-0 to Deportivo Táchira and 2-2 on aggregate. Táchira were absolutely dominant in this match, and they could have had a second shortly after Pollero's opener, but their second goal was disallowed for offside. In the second half, there was more the same from Deportivo Táchira. Villalpando's shot hit the side netting. Sosas' long-range shot forced a stop by Banegas. The ball squirted out from under him, and the ball trickled wide of the near post. And in the 80th minute, Juan Sanchez had the closest chance for Táchira in the second half when his attempt off a corner kick went wide. Yet, it was in the 6th minute of second half stoppage time when The Strongest earned a penalty through a handball by Táchira's Nahuel Lusnig. Up stepped Víctor Abrego to take the penalty for the Bolivian side, but he missed. It wasn't a very good penalty. The penalty wasn't headed for any posts. It was of medium height, and Jesus Camargo guessed well to make the save to keep Táchira in the tie. 1-0 it ended after 90 minutes, 2-2 on aggregate, and a penalty kick shootout was looming. In the penalty kick shootout, Deportivo Táchira converted all 5 of their penalties. The crucial moment came in the third round of the penalty kick shootout, when Vidin Salcedo's effort hit the crossbar. And then in the final round of the shootout, it was left to the goalkeeper, Jesus Camargo, to score past Luis Banegas to give Deportivo Táchira the win and the advancement to the second preliminary round. 2-2 on aggregate to both teams, Deportivo Táchira winning on penalty kicks 5-3. Now moving on to Lima, where Alianza Lima faced Segundo de Mayo of Paraguay, the Paraguayan side leading 1-0 from the first leg. This was a match that went back and forth with action on both sides, big chances on both sides, and important saves by the goalkeepers of both teams. In the 22nd minute, Guerrero was found in the penalty area, in the middle of the penalty area, but his shot attempt went wide. And with 10 minutes to go in the first half, Alianza Lima won a penalty through a handball by a Segundo de Mayo player. Penalty kick was given by VAR, but Eric Castillo missed the penalty. It was low along the ground, and Angel Martinez saved to his right. Alianza Lima would earn the 1-0 advantage midway through the second half, through Advincula. A Castillo cross found its way to Advincula, whose running shot hit the near post and flew into the net. Yet 10 minutes later, Segundo de Mayo earned a penalty kick of their own. A long ball to the right-hand side found Davalos running onto it. His collision with the goalkeeper, Alejandro Duarte, yielded the penalty kick after review by VAR. Up stepped Brian Ayala, whose emphatic penalty strike gave Segundo de Mayo the equalizer and the 2-1 advantage on aggregate. Alianza Lima searched desperately for an equalizer on the night, actually for the go-ahead goal on the night that would have given them the equalizing goal in the tie. And the closest that they would get would be in the 90th minute when Luis Ramos's open header after a corner was met by a flying save by Martinez. And it actually required another intervention by Martinez seconds later to keep the ball out of the Segundo de Mayo goal. As I said, there was action by both sides. Alianza Lima having the shot advantage, 22-18. Both sides had 4 big chances apiece, and the expected goals count was 2.63 to Alianza Lima and 2.17 to Segundo de Mayo. The 1-1 result meant that Segundo de Mayo advanced 2-1 on aggregate. For Alianza Lima, this is the first time since 2015 that they have failed at the first qualifying round. And it's the third time this century, out of 17 appearances in the Copa Libertadores, that they have failed to advance to the group stage. Meanwhile, the debutantes of this season's Copa Libertadores move on. And finally, going to Ecuador for the match between Universidad Católica del Ecuador and Uruguay's Juventud. Universidad Católica was entering this match with a 1-0 advantage from the result in Uruguay. And in my previous episode, I said, in quote, with a high-altitude match against what is, to be fair, an inexperienced and limited squad, it's going to be very difficult for Juventud. And I say this quote to demonstrate that sometimes we really don't know. We really don't know everything. This was a proper ding-dong, to use the technical term. This was a back-and-forth encounter between both teams, and it really showed the indomitable effort of the visiting Uruguayan side. It took 6 minutes for Universidad Católica to extend their lead on aggregate through José Fajardo, who had been Católica's most outstanding player over both legs. A long ball found him, a link-up between Fajardo and Everaldo Rosé, both Panamanians, resulted in Fajardo overpowering the 2 defenders who were marking him and hitting a really great curling goal past the Juventud goalkeeper, Sosa. So 1-0 on the night and 2-0 on aggregate to the Ecuadorian side. In the 25th minute, Juventud would get a lifeline through Renzo Sanchez. A ball on the right found Barandegai's cross to the left-hand side, and Sanchez was alone on the far post to head home. In the second minute of stoppage time, it would be Barandegai who would step up to the penalty spot to draw the match level. Loregi's effort, Loregi was brought down by goalkeeper Romo, and Barandege would step to the spot and hit a strong penalty past Romo to give Juventud the 2-1 lead and the 2-2 tie on aggregate. In the 4th minute of the second half, they would go on to take the lead on aggregate outright. Another long ball found Larregui. He was taken down the box once again, and this time Pablo Lago's penalty sent Roma the wrong way. Now, just seconds after Fajardo's flying header was saved brilliantly by Sebastian Sosa in the 63rd minute, on the ensuing corner, Diaz's kick found John Chancellor's head, exploiting Catolica's high advantage to bring Catolica to 2-3 and 3-3 on aggregate. In the 79th minute, it would become 3-3, and Catolica would take the lead once again on aggregate, again through Jose Fajardo. A beautiful through ball split the Juventud defense on the right-hand side. Fajardo ran onto it, and he slid through Sosa's legs to put Catolica back in control of the tie. And the match continued like that until the 2nd minute of second half stoppage time. And Juventud would equalize on the tie in the most extraordinary fashion. A Gonzalo Gomez free kick was parried away by Romo. The Juventud players, just showing their refusal to give up on the play, managed to get pokes on the ball to keep it in the Catolica final third. The ball eventually found its way to Gomez, who, instead of shooting toward goal, mishit the ball, and it dribbled across the penalty kick area, across the penalty area, and Patricio Pinacone did a back heel, and the ball bounced past Romo inside the far post. 4-3 to Juventud, 4-4 on aggregate, the most extraordinary 90 minutes that you will ever see in a preliminary round match of Copa Libertadores. Both teams went for it. 14-11, the shot advantage by Catolica. They had the advantage in big chances. They forced more saves by the Juventud goalkeeper. But in terms of XG, Juventud actually had the advantage, 2.49 to 2.06. So penalty kicks loomed. And the penalties by both sides were successful until the 3rd round. Gonzalo Gomez, who was so important in that equalizing goal for Juventud, missed his effort in the 3rd round due to a flying save by Romo. It wasn't necessarily a bad penalty by Gomez, but Romo's effort was absolutely spectacular. In the 4th round of the penalty kick shootout, John Chancellor stepped up for Universidad Católica. His effort was right at Sosa, who easily saved, and Romeo Peralta converted his attempt to equalize the scoreline in the penalty kick shootout. In the 5th and decisive round, Geronimo Catsiabue's attempt went down the middle, and Sosa, instead of diving to either side, stood upright and easily caught the ball. Up stepped Fernando Mimbacas, and Mimbacas' attempt flew underneath a diving Romo to give Juventud an incredible 4-3 win on penalty kick shootout. 4-4 in aggregate, 4-3 to Juventud on penalty kicks. You cannot underestimate Uruguayan clubs when everything is at stake, whether in club football or international football. They came from behind in regulation time. They came from behind in the penalty kick shootout. They are moving on to the 2nd preliminary round of this season's Copa Libertadores. And that concludes the first preliminary round. With 10 goals in the second leg, after 5 in the first, both debutantes, Juventud and Segunda de Mayo, are through to the 2nd preliminary round, And the only established team, the only team that makes semi-regular appearances in the group stage, advancing from these six is Deportivo Táchira. It's been an absolutely astonishing first preliminary round. One that you probably would not have expected after the first leg of matches last week. And now we arrive to the matchups for the second preliminary round. And I'm going to describe these matchups in terms of tracks because 4 teams will ultimately advance to the group stage from this point forward. And in track 1, we have Juventude versus Guarani, and they will eventually face the winner between Liverpool of Uruguay and Colombia's Independiente Medellin. Guarani are the top seeded team in this track, meaning that if they advance to the third preliminary round, they will host the second leg of that stage. In track 2, we have Deportivo Táchira hosting Deportes Tolima in the second leg, and they will face the winner of Chile's O'Higgins versus Brazil's Bahia. Deportivo Táchira are the top seeded team in this track. In track 3, Paraguay's Segunda de Mayo facing Peru's Sporting Cristal. They will face the winner of the matchup between Venezuela's Carabobo and Chile's Huachipato. Sporting Cristal are the top seeded team in this track. And finally, in track number 4, Barcelona of Guayaquil will face Argentinos Juniors, the 1985 winners of Copa Libertadores. The winner of that time will face the winner of Nacional Potosí of Bolivia versus the 2024 winners of the Libertadores, Botafogo. And Botafogo are the top seeded team in track number 4. Sporting Cristal being the top seed team in track number 3. I'm not sure if I had already mentioned that. So you will find XG maps, flow chart, and passing network maps for every Libertadores match on the Soccermetrics X feed. Match data supplied by Data Factory Latin America. Got a comment or question about this podcast or the Libertadores? Send them to my X handle at Soccermetrics. You can also send questions or comments to Soccer Down Here or to Jason Longshore at Longshoe. This podcast is also streamed on YouTube and Facebook, and you can follow a conversation there as well. I'll be back next week to get you ready for the first legs of the Libertadores second preliminary round. This has been the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores show, proudly part of the SDH network. See you later. Hasta luego. E até mais.